Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. CAGN Jayaraman from Erode, partner of Karthikeyan and Jayaraman. CAGN Jayaraman? Maybe he's just outside. Okay, let me take the pleasure of our Director Sridhanya Ilango to welcome our technical session speaker, C.A. Chinnasamy Ganesan, with a shawl and a bouquet. Thank you very much, sir. வெற்றிக்கும் தோல்விக்கும் சிறு வித்தியாசம்தான். கடமையை செய்தால் வெற்றி, கடமைக்கு செய்தால் தோல்வி. A person who reflects the கடமை, கண்ணியம், கட்டுப்பாடு, CA R. Subramaniam, Managing Partner R. Subramaniam and Company. He was the founder of Messrs. R. Subramaniam and Company, one of the leading practicing chartered accountant in Chennai, with more than 5 decades of experience and with a total strength of around 150 professional and supportive staff. He has been on the board of several corporate entities, including public sector, financial services entities like LIC, mutual funds, Bank of India, Finance Limited. Actually, he's been a powerful speaker on corporate law at various forums of the institute, and maybe these are all 4 decades story. Maybe I'm not that aged or experienced enough to share all his experience, but I have seen various photographs and all his presentation are captured, documented in institute records, where he has been associated with professional bodies, especially with the CA Institute for on the topic on corporate law. And C.R. Subramaniam used to be a resource person on this particular subject. His specialization is corporate law and corporate audits, and he used to be a regular speaker on various forums for almost decades. He is also a member of Central Advisory Committee on Company Law, functioning under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, where he has been advising the government in relation to very critical issues on disinvestment proposals. He was an active member of a committee constituted by SEBI for drafting regulations in relation to collective investment scheme. He was nominated as director of a private sector bank by Reserve Bank of India. He was a nominee member of State Committee on Cooperative Banks. He was NABARD's nominated member on Committee on Revival of Cooperative Banks and Cooperative Sector constituted under Government of India. He has acted as chairman of several professional conferences and also as a guest speaker on various professional subjects. Past president of Hindustan Chamber of Commerce, present member of National Executive Committee of FICCI, Executive Committee member of International Chamber of Commerce, guest faculty for various staff training colleges of nationalized bank and universities, has given extensive lectures on various topics, particularly on accounting, corporate laws, tax laws, and other economic legislations. Friends, with this brief, may I present before you C.A. R. Subramaniam, sir. Friends, please join your hands for Mr. Subramaniam. She is mute. And husband is honey when he gives money. But Chinnasamy Ganesan is an inspiration when he does a technical presentation. We have to hear him from beginning till end. Such a very versatile speaker on the specialized topic where he chooses. He is a commerce graduate, fellow ICAI, and post-qualified DISA from ICAI, and gold medalist from Annamalai University. He is also an approved peer reviewer of ICAI. Presently partner, audit and assurance related services of BSR & Co., a limited liability partnership firm. Having more than 9 years of experience in big accounting firms, before joining that, He was a senior partner of Chinnasamy Ganesan and Company Chartered Accountants. His specialization niche area is IFRS, accounting standards, international Indian auditing standards, and company law. He has authored two books, one on a quick referencer on IFRS and model Q&A, where it has gone for multiple editions. And the second one is on Revised Schedule 6, a ready reckoner. Both are very, very popular books across the country. And he associates with ICI on various technical matters, especially whenever there is an exposure draft, whenever there is a revision of the standards. The first thing SIRC thinks is why we should call for Mr. Chinnasamy Ganesan for his review, for his comments, and we should get his comments before we send to Delhi. And when such technical subjects are there, maybe very few respond, and he is the first person to come for the technical upgradations. Co-opted member of IFRS Implementation Committee and Accounting Standards Board last year. Current year he is IFRS Implementation Committee member, and also in the past he was a co-opted member for Auditing and Assurance Standard Board. Resource person on IFRS certification course of ICI, faculty for IFRS certification course of ACCA. Friends, out of 5 regional council of ICI, he is a resource person for 4 regional council. Maybe only Central India hasn't called him so far, and in near future they will also have his among his busy schedule. He will also do that. He has presented subjects across length and breadth of the country for various study groups, and he is a resource person for LIBA, Institute of Company Secretaries, Reserve Bank of India Staff College, various banks training college, and Regional Training Institute of Indian Audit and Accounts Department, that is the C&AG's training division. Friends, 500 plus papers he has presented, 25 plus articles. That definitely deserves a big round of applause, friends. Member of International Association for Accounting Research and Training, Chartered Accountant Study Circle, Society of Auditors, BCAS and ACA. With this brief, I present before you C.A. Chinnasamy Ganesan. Friends, now it's time to hear from the chairman of the technical session, C.R. Subramaniam sir, his opening remarks before we hear from the technical speaker.
Good afternoon, friends. True to the name of the organization which has arranged this kind of a meeting, I should express the news me. It is very thoughtful of Mr. Raju and his associate to have taken the liberty of organizing it in order to ensure that we have a threadbare discussion in terms of the new act which has come into force recently, which is being notified in installments. From my point of view, the chairman's role, which I always cherish, should be a village school master. Already we have chosen an expert, and particularly in our case, though the name may be Chinnaswamy, he is really a Periswamy. Fortunately, has got associated with the Ganesan, who is ultimately the fund of knowledge. Is really a close friend of mine, whom I always admire as a reservoir of knowledge in terms of the accounting and accounting standards in particularly. I'm glad that many of the professional institutions, including our institutes, have been making use of him to a large extent. So when that be the case, when the subject will be presented by him, I would like to give you slightly an overall view of what I felt in terms of the current legislation which has been thrusted on us. I will take you back to 1913, which was supposed to be 1913 Act, when a modified legislation on the corporate law was brought in at that relevant point of time when we were under the British rule. It was more a colonial approach. The corporate sector was not taking any shape. The collective, the risk was not really coming into force. So that led to number of problems, and that's where the Women Bose Commission and Shastri Daftri Commission both were brought into, in order to relook at many of the corporate frauds or corporate mismanagement, no governance, etc., etc. They thought they can wash out the entire thing by 1956 Act, and that's why they took a bold step. They abolished the managing agency system and the House of Secretaries and Treasurers, which were the backbone for the development of the corporate sector in the Indian economy in the pre-independence days, and subsequently also it took some root. Unfortunately, 1956 Act had number of deficiencies and gaps. I do remember, probably many of you might not have been present, I will share. I think way back 1967 January, when Mr. R. Prasad was the Secretary Corporate Affairs and Chairman of the Company Law Board, our great Mr. Brahmaya happened to be the President, and there was a conference of this nature in Woodlands. Mr. Prasad, after inaugurating the at the time of inauguration of the conference, he said, even though he is ultimately the custodian in terms of the corporate law in the country, he said, while going through 1913 Act and 1956 Act, he said, I am not able to still get convinced that what kind of a major amendments that we were able to bring forth in terms of bringing out the discipline, excepting he was only referring to an old story of Madras, where ultimately a Perumal was called a Bedda Perumal. Beyond that, he is not able to see any other thing, insight in the whole thing. Similarly, when you come back to 2013, I am not critical of it. A century later, when you try to compare, we might say that we are trying to swim with the current economies in the world. But what has been to a certain extent forgotten is India is not yet the kind of a matured economy as much as it happens in the case of US and UK. They have gone through the drill over a period of last 300 years. The Industrial Revolution, the development of the corporate wing, pooling of the resources, democratic institutional development, they were all totally different game plan. Unfortunately, we were caught with too many cobwebs and different kinds of ideas. At one point of time, we were thinking that the Monopoly MRTP Act, was a teeth which was really creating so much of nuisance. They felt, no, we need to only concentrate on the RT, that is restricted trade practice, and monopoly must be removed. Then they brought in various piecemeal amendments. So, in a current situation, what I wanted to take you is, we are totally in a different economy subsequent to 2000. In the last 13 years, we have seen number of regulatory bodies coming into force in terms of each discipline, each functional area. The whole intention of bringing these regulatory bodies is to see that they focus, they concentrate, they rewrite the business requirements and the business approach, and what ultimately, how the man is being judged today. Just like in the case of the student, it is examination result which speaks of him regardless of his physical intelligence. It is the reflection of results. That's why accounts have a greater dominance and more, say a vital part, a significant part in terms of any amendment that has to be brought through in the corporate law. I'm glad that we have chosen a fit person to talk about it, the kind of amendments. That, of course, is the mundane side of that. But if you really look at it in practical shape, when you try to apply for it, we find number of conflicting issues arise between what the regulator does require and what the corporate law under which we are governed as a professional, or as even as a part of the management, maybe a director as the case may be, who is accountable. It becomes too difficult. There has been a lot of paradoxical situation and imbalances which need to be addressed to. Perhaps over a period of time we will be able to do, because unfortunately even in this act, all of us are claiming that it has been reduced in size, the quantum of sections have been reduced. But ultimately what they have kept a lot of powers in terms of prescribing the rules, which is very dangerous, which is not good sign for any democracy. The act must very clearly spell out and come out very clearly what the wisdom is. Tomorrow the rules are going to be framed depending upon the individuals. Let me tell you very honestly, it is the concerned joint secretary who will dictate. Not even the board, not even anybody else, not even the minister. Because most of them have no knowledge at all about this, and even if you go and discuss it with them, they will hardly understand anything out of it. And this period, the secretary or the chairman, as the case may be occupying, is also like a mayor post. So ultimately the joint secretary in his individual or her individual approach, what they find from some of us is going to be. Therefore, it is not a good sign to have sweeping powers for the government to prescribe the rules as and when they please, because if they keep on changing, our position also will keep on changing. It becomes too difficult for many of us because we are in the attestation function. There we have got to take a, what I would say, balanced view, balanced approach. I cannot throw away the entity which I know has an excellent base and foundation just for few requirements here and there. And if it gets misinterpreted, certainly there is going to be a huge damage for it. And unfortunately, we are in the crossroads today where for every small act of omission, the professionals become first responsible. Then only the management comes into the picture. We are being watched by different kinds of agencies. Though our reporting